doing 3 secrets. What are those 3 secrets, by the way?
Whatever we want them to be.
Okay.
Um,
All
I
right.
mean,
We should be going live in about, okay. We should be going live now.
sounds good.
All right. Okay. So we're here with another webinar with Andrew. Andrew is a great friend, and he's been an advocate for a lot of things, real estate, ads, everything. And we're so excited to have him today because you're gonna get so much education out of him. There's gonna be so much learnings, and yeah, let's get going. So why won't you like open up and just tell us like who you are, Andrew, and a little bit about yourself?
So I was an agent when I first got started in the industry. So I was in Aurora. So I sold Aurora Newmarket in Ontario, which is, for those who don't know, just north of Toronto. And I tried everything. Like I door knocked, cold called, all that fun stuff. I actually got a deal on the second house I ever door knocked, and I thought this was going to be the easiest business in the world. And it ended up being about the last deal I got door knocking.
What is
But
that?
when I started getting success was like blogging and Facebook ads and social. Like I did really, really well on that side of things. And then, long story short, I ended up getting hired by a brand to train agents how to do that very stuff. But then when I started
Mhm.
training agents, every time I did a session, they're like, "Can we just pay you to do this for us?" And eventually I realized there was a pretty good business there. So I ended up starting Just Sell Homes, which is a digital marketing agency that focuses on the real estate industry. So we basically help realtors grow their business. Our kind of bread and butter, I would say, is Facebook and Instagram, but generally we look at like Facebook, email marketing, content marketing, stuff like that. But we're generally just help agents grow their business online.
All right, that's awesome. That's great. So we've been in this ads business for a long time, both of us, and today what we're going to cover is really getting into the little details of like what are the top secrets of running an ad, like what's a CTA, what's a converting ad, what are all these things that agents keep puzzling there, like they're so puzzled and they don't know what to do with it, right? So I see agents coming in and getting like these 1 minute videos from us, and they're like, I want to run an ad on this, and I'm like, no, this is not what you want to do. For a successful ad, you got to have a certain component. So we're going to get in there. I think one of the key things that I want to talk about is the creative. Then we're going to head into the CTA. What's a CTA? And then we're going to get into that stage of follow up. What's a cold lead? What's a warm lead? So let's cover all those topics, and feel free to jump in with more details. I think you have a ton of insights, so would love to go there. So let's talk about this. What is a successful ad campaign looking like?
I mean, it does depend a little bit on your goals. I'm going to say it depends a lot because that happens. It depends on what your goals are. At the end of the day, it's obviously business that you get out of it is the most obvious one. So like, yeah, we can look at cost per lead, and that's an easy metric to track in terms of are my ads working to generate leads. But like I've had campaigns that generate $1 a lead, and I've had a campaign that's been $50 a lead, but the long-term ROI of the clients closed off the 50 was actually higher than the closed off the one. Whereas I've had the reverse happen where like we've been spending $1 a lead on things and done very, very well, and then had others that were higher cost that just didn't pan out. So at the end of the day, you do want to look at essentially like what's your cost per transaction. So if you have to generate 100 leads, how many leads do you need to talk to get a deal? So at the end of the day, none of it matters if you're not getting business from it. But if you're more of a content marketer and you got to do promotion, you can't track it so easily to transactions because it's more brand marketing and building the brand and presence and retargeting. And like we kind of joke with some clients that sometimes how you can measure effectiveness is by how many people, when you're out and about, mention seeing your ads. If you're
Yeah,
trying to build
yeah,
brand, it's like, are you walking around? Someone's like, I keep seeing your ad everywhere. That's like for brand marketers, that's one of the good signs that it's working.
I think that there's a key difference here. I think let's you nailed it in the head. Like the targeting and the purpose of the campaign is so important here, right? So I think a lot of us, and I'm guilty of this too. Like I always mixed up brand marketing with direct marketing. So direct marketing is when you actually target a customers. you can send a consistent message to them, and you always target them to get that lead or get that result. Brand marketing is like where you kind of spray and pray, and you hope that like someone sees that ad and someone will remember it. And I think the traditional marketing that us as realtors have seen in the past, like, I don't know, 30 years, is put your newspaper ad, put a classified ad, and just hope someone sees it, right? So there's more of a brand marketing embedded in our past marketing, and now we're moving towards this direct marketing where you're really targeting, you're really going after that home buyer or home seller, and you're really getting into details of like where they live, what's their price point, and so on, right? So I think that's a great thing that you mentioned here. So how would you differentiate between the two?
I mean, at its very core, brand is more getting your name out there, providing value, and just having people remember who you are. Like, there's a guy named Dean Jackson who calls, I think he refers to brand as, like, he thinks of brand as an acronym. So it's like buying. It's like, I know the B is buying, but it's like buying, reflex, act now, decision. So like, if you have to go buy something, brand is that thing that stays at the top of your head. Like, if, oh, I want a soda, people right away think of Coke because they have the brand. Like, I want running shoes, you right away think of Nike. That's branding. Whereas performance marketing is like, it's right in front of them at this very minute, and I'm going to opt in and get it. And I think one of the big mistakes people think about, and like, this is a huge thing in real estate marketing, is that they look to the top producers. How are they marketing? And they're like, okay, I'm just going to do the same thing because they're the top producer. And what that does is it ignores the fact that different stages of your business, you have to market differently. Like, a brand new agent should do very little brand marketing and go very high on direct response marketing because they need people to talk to right now and build their database. But when you get to a certain size of business and you're already bringing in a lot of leads, you're getting a lot of referrals, now you're going more brand marketing because that's going to bring in higher quality leads, but it's a longer term payoff. And if you're new, so like normally what I say is like, when you're first starting out, go higher on direct response, and then over time you're kind of flipping that and going a little less on the direct response and more.
So this
and
is
more
the actual opposite of what everyone does then. So
yeah,
everyone usually just clicks on that boost button on Instagram, and they think
which you should never touch
everything. I always like try and educate our fellow realtors on that. Like, when you click on that boost button, chances are your cousin across the country that engaged with your content is now one of your targets, and his friends who are also living on the other city are also one of your targets. So like, I see this all the time. I'm sitting in Vancouver and I'm seeing like realtors across from Philadelphia like reaching out to me. I'm like, why would you spend your dollar to reach out to me? Like, why would I care?
Yeah.
But it's a typical thing, right? They clicked on that boost button, and they think this is the thing, right?
But you should never, like this, I hammer this with agents all the time. Is like, you should pretend that button does not exist. Like, no matter what type of ad you want to run to an agent, the boost button, because like really what the problem with the boost button is, and there's a couple, the only advantage it has is it's quick. But when you think of when you run an ad, you have a specific goal. Like, let's say I have a post with a beautiful video in it, but my goal is actually to send people to my website. If I click boost post, they're going to optimize it for engagement, which means people clicking, like commenting, sharing, liking. That doesn't send people to my website. My goal is to send people to my website. And when you actually go through the ads manager and build an ad, the first section, it's like, what's your goal? And there's options there. They're going to be like brand awareness, reach, engagement, video views, lead generation, conversions. There's a few others in there. You have to tell Facebook what you want, because if you take like a sample size of 100 people, and Facebook knows this group over here will click on any link that gets put in front of them. This group over here will never click on a single link they ever see. If you want people to click on a link and you tell Facebook, I want traffic to my website, they're going to show that post to this group over here. If you click boost post and just say engage, it's going to send it to the entire group at a different level. And you might end up with these people who will never click a link in their life. But your goal is link clicks. So you're completely wasting your money by sending it to that group of people who will never click a link. So you have to tell, like, as smart as like the algorithm and all that is, you still have to tell them what your goal is. And because there's a video in there to try and drive people, they might still think, oh, they just want more video views, but I actually don't care as much about the video view as I do about
right. I think we are all guilty of this. We count like how many times a content was viewed. Like, who cares? Like you could be exposing it to like 1 million people, but they're not the right target, right? So if you showed it to like 5 people that were like highly qualified, and these people would actually give you the leads. Like if you're running a direct marketing campaign, that's what you care about. You're not counting numbers. Like who cares if you reach like 5,000 or 10,000 people? It doesn't matter.
Cost per lead. I said they would turn that valve I mentioned quickly. I'll be
all right.
I'll
Okay.
be right back.
So something interesting, guys, about that concept and about what we just talked about while Andrew comes back. The idea here is that you just need to know why you're running an ad campaign. So the first thing is to know if you're running a campaign to just reach more people, or you're running the campaign to get direct marketing results. And what does that mean? It means that you are getting that that qualified lead and you want them to opt in for something. So you're hiding something behind some sort of content, you're hiding value, and you're saying, hey, click here, give me your lead, so I will give you the content. This could be a free report, this could be a PDF, this could be many things, and you can utilize various contents. But the idea is that if you're doing direct marketing, you just have to be careful of how you're targeting the messaging, what are the CTAs or call to actions, and all these things, right? And I think that's what we miss a lot. So now let's move on to the next thing, and that is well, so we have a lot of comments like Daryl, and I think someone else also mentioned this. Everyone says, I've always tried an ad on Facebook, it didn't work. And what is your typical response to that?
You're just doing the ad wrong, to be honest. And there could be a few different things you're doing wrong, right? Like maybe your message wrong. Like I see the type of ad, like a lot of people when they first get into Facebook ads, essentially take like a bus bench ad and do it online, which is your very classic. Like if you're thinking of buying, selling, investing, developing, leasing, and any other thing I can think of, give me a call. Yeah. And then like they put their phone number in the copy and they do all these things. That is never going to get results. So you have to think about like what's like I frame is like you almost don't like it's gonna be coming from your page. They see your name, they see your title there. The actual ad, the imagery, the copy has to be about answering the single question of what's in it for me if I'm the consumer. Right. So when I'm looking at it, what do I get out of this by reading this ad? So like your image has one goal, or your video has one goal, to stop people from scrolling and look at what it is. Then your copy sells them on your next step. If your next step is to send them to a website, it's to click to go to your website. Then your website's goal at that point is to convert them into a lead. But if you use like Facebook lead gen forms, which is the easiest way in the world to get leads, like that's where we average $1 to $3 a lead off Facebook, is Facebook lead forms. Your goal is to get them to click to pop up that form on Facebook, so that now they can start getting leads in, and it works really, really well. Like if you know, like if you have a listing or you can borrow someone's listing, if you're spending more than $5 a lead on average, you're doing it wrong. Like,
and I think here's the thing, right? Like we see, so we did a test and we looked at general listing content versus like something that's optimized for an audience. So like mortgage interest rates are going up, or is there a crash coming, or whatever, that's really hot topic, right? And what we saw was you typically get 4 times more engagement, 4 times more 4 times better results when you talk about a topic versus a listing. Because chances are when you're promoting that $3 million listing or $2 million listing, I'm not your target audience. Like I'm not buying a $2 million home. So like, and I'm trying to educate as much people as I can and tell them, look, there's a difference here. So a listing is a validation that you do business, but it's not really a validation of like if you're targeting to the right person. So I think that's another thing that I want to talk about. Like, how do you make sure? So if you're picking a listing, what listing should you pick? I think that's like there's got to be criteria in that listing, like
you don't want
range and things like that, right?
It depends on the agent, right? Like if you only have one listing, you don't really have a lot of choices, right? Now, if you're on a team that has a lot of listings, or you can borrow listings from someone in your office, I cherry pick second homes. So, and what I mean by that is like not an entry level home. So like I don't want a townhouse. I want a semi-detached, detached. because what I'm trying to get when I advertise, like, because if you pick a luxury home, you get a lot of people who opt in just to see the pretty pictures and they want to see what a $5 million home looks like. But if I pick that like second home that people are going to get, like families, they're getting bigger, they want to expand up into, not only do I get the lead for that listing to potentially represent the buyer, but they also will have to sell their home to buy that house too. So I'm trying to double up on my opportunity to get a second transaction out of it. Like,
So this opens up the conversation for another nice topic, and that is stop chasing seller leads. Like a lot of times that buyer that you're targeting is already owning something and they have to sell before they can upgrade or downgrade.
that's the biggest shift we've made in the last 18 months is sell, because everyone tried to get, because obviously sellers have been gold in the last couple of years because the market's been so crazy, but everybody's spending to try and get sellers. And what we found is it was a lot cheaper to get them by targeting their next house. So we target the house sellers are going to go to, because at the end of the day, they actually don't care that much about their current home. They care about the next home they're going into. The only thing they care about really about their current home is how much can I get to help me buy my next home, but they still care about that next home more. So if you focus on that, so like even just something simple like a list of homes, like if you don't have a listing, you can then switch that to get a list of this type of home. Like, and with the pandemic,
and I think that's you're nailing it in the head there. We saw the same thing. The moment you go from what's your home worth at to get a list of homes under a certain price range, your cost per lead goes down. Like you can always like
we
almost
moved away from
50%, right?
So we stopped doing the under a certain price method and we went by type of home, because with the market going up in pricing, so many more negative comments come on the ad now. So because like let's take Toronto as an example, Vancouver would be similar. If I said I want to talk about like a second home, which would be like a detached 4-bedroom home. In Toronto, that means 1.6, 1.7, 1.8 million. So if I run an ad about get a list of detached homes for under $1.8 million, 9 out of 10 comments are going to be people saying like, we're ruining the city, we're terrible people, we're the worst thing that ever existed. But if instead I just say, get a list of 4-bedroom homes with outdoor space in Toronto, those comments go away. And now I'm actually getting leads in. So that's a big shift we made with the market going up, is we've taken price out of those list of homes just to get rid of the negativity, because the negativity just became a pain.
That's a really, really interesting topic. So Dennis is asking, I have 1,000 friends for every city now. How do we get the area and the city right if you just have like one zip code?
So, I mean, with housing category rules on Facebook ads, you actually can't go by a single zip code for like a list of homes or a home for sale. Now there is one way around that. Well, like one, if you're not specifically advertising real estate, you can go, but what you can do is take a video that like, and make it like 15 seconds long that has nothing to do with real estate, and hyper target. And all you need is something that's interesting that, you know, someone locally would want to watch. This could be as simple as you doing this just to get attention, or it could be more like, here's my 3 favorite pizza places or coffee shops in town. Don't make it real estate. Hyper target that to your zip code. But then when you run a housing category ad, you turn on your 15-mile radius, but it only shows the people who watched that video. And the only people who watched that video were in the like that singular zip code. So despite the
so you do cross marketing. So you create a list first from a set of audience.
Yeah.
And then and guys, I know this might be like we're 2 marketers sitting here talking about like detailed targeting and things like that. If this is too advanced, you can use either roomvu ads or Andrew's company's ads, and we can do this for you. But the idea is like, this is a conversation about like, what do we have to do to target the right people? What do we have to do those things? So now let's talk about where the ad lives, that Facebook page or that Instagram page. So we get a lot of realtors coming to us and they're like, hey, Sam, I posted this video on my Facebook business page. It's not getting any views. And I'm like, yeah, what did you expect? Like, Facebook is a pay to play model. Like, unless you're paying for your Facebook business post to be seen, do not expect that you're going to get a lot of traction out of it, right? So I have 1,000 followers on my personal Facebook page, like on my real estate business page, and I get like maybe 10 people to view it. I don't know, 20 people each time. And I think that's just how Facebook is these days, right? And
Yeah, from a business page perspective, the only value to me of a business page now, well, there's two, but one's the main one. The main one's that you can run ads. There's a secondary value as a little bit of like a brochure, in the sense that like people might search and look you up there. And so you want to have something so that like if they look at it, you don't look like you left the business 3 years ago. But from a like, I'm using my business page to organically reach new people and bringing, that's that. Instagram is still very good for that if you do it the right way. Like Instagram, the biggest change organically is that you have to have a plan now. Whereas like 3-4 years ago, you barely needed a plan. Like how Facebook 10 years ago was the easiest thing in the world to get stuff on. You like Instagram's that now. So you have to have
it's gotta be this. I think we're gonna experience the same thing with TikTok now. Like the same challenges, the same things that we saw on Instagram, like we saw on Facebook is now coming to Instagram. So now TikTok is a little bit easier, a little bit harder to give views, and then the same thing. So I think something else that I want to also talk about is the different ways people interact with different social medias. So I always say that like you can post a link on LinkedIn and people will likely click on it and people will read it. You can even put a PDF there and that works. On Instagram, you got to do a story because people are less likely to view that video and things like that. It's very short content. And in fact, Instagram is changing their algorithms constantly, right? I think the more we go forward, the more they want to promote content that's more engaging, right? Rather than either ads or more engaging content, right?
So, but if you pair those, then you're going to win. If you can get engaging ads, that's best. But like, don't worry too much about algorithm changes, to be honest. Like if you like, what I always tell people is like, when you're looking at social, think about what the platform wants. Google is a great example. Like all they care about is providing the singular best answer to whatever you type into Google. So if someone types in this exact term, is that going to show up on social, Instagram, Facebook, they want you to stay on that platform as long as possible and enjoy it doesn't necessarily have to be an enjoyment factor. It just has, you have to stay on the platform. Even if you're hate watching something, you're staying on the platform. TikTok, it's like, I want them to engage and share the content and stay and like do all that stuff. Like if you think of what you're doing on any platform as this is what they want me to do, they'll keep promoting your content and their algorithm will go towards like any changes they make will actually help you because it gets rid of more, like almost every algorithm change at the end of the day is to try to get rid of those people that they find annoying and try to like game the system. Like they're like, oh, I learned this hack that if I do something this way, it games the algorithm. Like if you remember years ago on Facebook, someone figured out that if you write the word congrats in the comments, it shoots your post to the top.
So yeah, I remember that one.
That tactic where people are like, if you want to get a copy of this PDF, comment X on the post, and they changed that to comment congrats, and it gamed the algorithm. Facebook learned pretty quickly that that's what people are doing, and they turned that off as a thing, right? Like they are smart. Like the people at Facebook have so much more money and time and expertise devoted to this. They will win in the long term every time. But if you do what they want, which is help people stay on the platform and enjoy the experience, they will ultimately end the day promote.
I think that is the key thing. I think we need to talk about this. I see realtors getting off luxury cars and saying, buy a house from me. I'm the best agent. I'm the luxury agent. I don't know who coined that term. It's a terrible term. Like, who cares if you're a luxury agent? Like, what do you do? Like, what is your expertise? Why should I work with you? You're not a watch that I can just wear. So I don't care if you're a luxury agent. Like, what are you doing? That's and
that's, again, it's about them. Like when they say like, I'm this, I'm number one, I'm this, that's about you. When you have to be marketing, like to answer again, that what's in it for me. Like I always use the example, this is my favorite one, of just solds. Most agents you see like, I sold in 3 days for $100,000 over asking. Go on Twitter or Reddit and read how consumers talk about agents who do that. Like they tear them apart. What we've switched to, so there's two ways we've switched now. One is instead of saying 100,000 over asking, we'll say we got $50,000 more than the seller thought they would get. because that actually has some meaning.
That's a great point.
Yeah, how we actually like to do it is frame it as a case study now. So now it's just sold ad for us. If the client cooperates and gives us the information, looks something like this. John and Sarah just found out they were pregnant. They're both working at home now because of the pandemic, and they don't have enough room anymore to fit their lifestyle. Their friend recommended they talk to me because I'd be able to help them out like I helped them. So they invited me over to their house. I sat down with John and Sarah. We went through their entire house and we're like, okay, this room needs new baseboards. We had to paint a couple of rooms. We had to rearrange a few rooms with staging to showcase their highest best use. We did a little landscaping at the front. I brought my photographers in. I brought my, videographer in. We got floor plans done up. We got a survey done because they didn't have that before. We put that on the market. We launched it on a Thursday. With the marketing plan in place, we generated 72 showings. We had 27 offers, and they were able to get $100,000 more than they thought, which they can now put towards the nursery in their next home. I'm so happy for John and Sarah. If you'd like to get similar results for yourself, click below and book a time to chat with us. That
is the perfect ad. So you told the story here. There's a call to action in the end. There's a link. You got to click there and book a time. And you have to go through that entire system, right? Like the entire system of making sure that that client is actually reading something, getting value. What did you do as an agent? Do you just list it on the MLS and hope for the best results? Did you actually do the work? What did you do? And I think that is the key thing that a lot of us miss, and we think it's just the sale number, right? So I think that's a
MLS on that. Like I don't talk because any agent can put it on MLS, and they all do. I mean, yeah, there might be the odd exception, but not really. And you have to talk about everything else you do that sets you apart. And that's where, and like what you're trying to do is paint, like what I always tell my clients when we're coming up with these stories for the case studies is you want the person reading it to put themselves in the shoes of the person at the beginning of your story, but they want to be in the shoes of the person at the end of the story. And the best way to get that is to come to you because you help them do that. And you're the person now that will help them get there. Like I'm a bit of a nerd, so I always use this guy. You want to be the Obi-Wan Kenobi to their Luke Skywalker. Like you're the wise guide bringing them along the path. And that's kind of the approach. And with case studies, that works so much, and it builds trust because it's like this person can do it. And then eventually your goal is to have case studies for every type of demographic of person you work with and every type of home. So like if you live in an area with like old Victorian homes, you want to have case studies for Victorian homes that you can, a potential clients reach out to be like, hey, I have a Victorian home. Do you have any experience selling that? Be like, actually, here's a case study of a Victorian home that I sold with a client of mine. Why don't you take a look at that and see how we help them in your exact situation?
So I want to actually talk about that. Do people actually care about the style of the home in a market that is so tight on inventory? Because I've seen this ad, and I'm always thinking like, if it wasn't a Victorian home, would I not buy it? Like it's in my price range, like it's in the area that I like.
Where you want to live for the next 20 years of your life. Because like you also never, like an investor doesn't really care as much. They want, well, the investor would care because they want less maintenance generally. They don't want an old Victorian home that could break down at any time necessarily. But if I'm looking, where am I personally with my family going to live for the next 20 years? Like if my wife is like, I want a Victorian home, we're not looking at anything else but Victorian homes to live like, but it's a piece. So I do multiple ads like that. Like we have a client right now where they have 6 different ads up right now for different lists of different types of homes. And they want, each one is tailored to the different types of clients they want to get.
That's an interesting take. So Rita is asking, how can I get more info or what it is that we do? So both of us, Andrew and roomvu, we do ads. So Andrew's ads are a little bit more on the higher side. They're like a bigger expenditure, and this is when you're actually invested like in a long-term ad expenditure. And our ads are like kind of small, pay as you go, like $50 a week kind of thing, and there's no like huge fees with that. But both I think both of us serve different audiences. If you're starting up, if you're just getting started with ads, instead of clicking on that boost button, either work with and see where you are with your business, right? And I think
if you want to hire us, you got to assume your investment starts around $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
When you include the cost of the ads and the service and everything, you're generally, most of our clients, 1,750, 2,000 at the low end. So
per month.
we look at ourselves
right?
like a team member as opposed to like a vendor.
Yeah. And that's the key. So now let's go into ads and how do you measure success? So what is a successful ad campaign, regardless of reach, regardless of leads, regardless of all these things that we can count on, right? We can go out there and count these things and say, okay, this is how many people I reached. This is how many leads I got.
Yeah.
What is the third metric? What is something else that we should look at?
I would generally, like, the way that I frame it to my team, and it's just to help drive it home, is we measure it by kitchen tables, which people always kind of give me a weird look when I first say it. But the idea is, how many kitchen tables did we get our clients to? Because like, you want them to be having a listing appointment where they're sitting down with a client at their kitchen table showing what they can do. So when we're measuring like success of some of our campaigns, we're like, how many kitchen tables did we get our clients this month? Because if I can get you to a kitchen table, I have done my job. If you can't close at that point, that's on you to a degree. Like, we'll certainly help you if you're having trouble there. But like most agents, I think if you can get to a kitchen table, the close rate's over 80%.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like, and there's some, like, we have one client, I think he's measured back 3 years. He's like a 97% close rate if he can get to the table. But like, that's at the end of the day, all you're trying to measure, like reach, impressions, cost per lead, those things matter as indicators of how a campaign's going. But if a campaign is successful or not, there's one thing, and that's, am I getting deals out of it? Like, we had a client, we sent them 1,000 leads over 6 months. They didn't close a single deal. Exact same campaign for another agent. They got 6 deals on the first 100 leads.
So now another question for you. How important is to understand the difference between a cold lead and a warm lead? And how long does it take for a cold lead to actually become a warm lead that knows and wants to talk to you? Because initially they click on that form and they're like, oh God, I'm a realtor. They're gonna spam me with a lot of things, I'm sure. But
I could go on this topic for a long time. I think it's also already looking at it from the wrong angle of, like, a lot of people are like, because I'm sure you hear this all the time, like, hey, I've worked with these people, I've gotten leads. I want good leads this time though, right? Like, these people provide me bad leads. These provide people bad leads. I'm coming to you for good leads. 6 months from now, they're going to the next provider, adding you to that list of the bad lead provider and going there. And I think it's a language thing. So like, and I don't mean like different language, I mean like language of the exact words. Like, a lead is a lead on a prospect. A prospect is someone thinking of buying or selling, but not necessarily using you. Most agents, when they say good leads, they mean prospects. You're getting leads on Facebook, which is leads on a potential prospect. And you're not going to convince someone 99% of the time, if they weren't already planning to move. All you're doing in your initial follow-up is trying to identify, of these leads, which of them are potentially prospects. Of those prospects, which one don't have an agent already, I would like to work with, and know what they want, right? Like, there's a few other things there, but ultimately at the end of the day, you're trying to, with the leads, uncover the people ready to go. But people also have this thing of like, they're going to hammer the leads to find the people ready to go soon. But 90% of leads are going to be 12 months or more. And this is where a lot of people don't have a system. Like, they have that initial like 10 days.
Say it again, loud and clear. How many months?
Easily 12 plus.
All right. Okay.
And this is where most screwed up, right? Like,
that's what we should be like titling this webinar about. Yeah. It's not going to make one call to activate that lead. It's going to take a while. It's going to take 12 months for that lead,
easily,
from a lead to become a prospect on average.
One of the first leads I ever generated as an agent was the last one to close when I sold. Like, it's not an unusual thing that happened, right? But this is where, when you get into follow-up, you really want to look at 2 pieces. How am I following up with people right away? And anyone who's not ready to start moving forward gets pushed into my later bucket. My later bucket, for me, the best thing, like, yes, there's phone calls in there to check in. It's a weekly email out. I think everyone should have a weekly email that goes out to their database of all these leads. Some people like, that's too much. It's just because you're sending bad emails. But you need a good email that goes out once a week.
Exactly, right? So here's the thing. An email is only spamming if, one, You bought off these leads from somewhere and you started emailing them. 2, so they don't know you. 2, you're emailing them garbage content. You're sending them your open house. Who cares about that? Like, I'm not going to show up to your open house or whatever, right? So we do have an email marketing tool, guys. Go use it and see it. But the idea is you have to send content. You have to send something useful that I actually get value out of it. I'm not opening my inbox to see Jackie is an excellent agent. Who cares? I don't care. Like, I'm not buying tomorrow, so whatever.
That in part of the email, like but you have to have something that again answers the same thing of a successful ad is what's in it for me. Like, what's the value in me opening this email? That could be maybe you're just showing what you think is the best deal on the market right now. People want to see the best deal. Maybe it's the best investment if you target investors. Maybe it's just here's what's sold recently so you can keep your finger on the pulse of the market. Maybe it's just here's what's going on in the community. It's not even real estate. It's just this is what's happening in our community that you might want to know about.
It could be a community event. It could be whatever.
There could be and like I like to do link roundup styles where it's like I think of like, so I'll take my newsletter to agents as an example. Because it's an easy one, is we basically do link roundups, but like section 1 is here's what's going on in the real estate world. So like rate hikes or new regulations, different things like that. Section 2 is we find an agent's marketing that we like and we highlight it, because agents like nothing more than to see what other agents are doing that's good. That's always one of our highest click-through points of a newsletter because they care about that. Like, when we do this for agents, that section switches to here's a cool local business to check out. Like, look at this new brewery that opened. They care about that stuff because it's local to them. But it's like, what do my ideal clients care about? Fill it up with that. And then you can just add I don't know if you know who Dean Jackson is. He's one of the best email marketers I've ever met in my life. He coined a term called the super signature, which is at the end of your emails, instead of just putting like, oh, by the way, I'm never too busy for your referrals, you just add in like your name and then you put, when you're ready, here's a few ways we can help you. 1, are you thinking of selling? Click here to find out what your home would sell for. 2, do you have a home you want to go see? Reply to this email when you want to go see it and the address, and I'll book a showing for you. 3, not sure what's right for you? Click here to book a 15-minute call and we'll go over your options. But you put 3 or 4 different things like that tells them the exact next steps to take. And
so how important is that? Click here to book a 15-minute call, because I want to talk about this. And realtors come to me, they're like, I don't have time. I'm like, it's not about like you making the time. It's about knowing that there's going to be like there's someone behind the phone and they would actually talk to you, right? So I think that is the key thing. Like how would you talk about that calendar thing?
So I use Calendly, and if you are like you can set how much people can book. Like I have, for example, like I'm sure you're similar. You get a lot of people like, can I pick your brain? Right? Well, if I said yes to every pick my brain request, I would probably do nothing but pick my brain calls. So I created on Calendly a tool or a booking option that's called Pick My Brain, but it only lets one person book a day. So like if you want to book a Pick My Brain, you can, and you can pick that option. It's free, but it won't let you book any more than one a day with a minimum of 6 hours notice. So which really what I'm doing is trying to eliminate same day bookings. So like I've controlled my calendar that way. And like what I love about Calendly, which I think most people screw up, is they just put like 15-minute meeting, 30-minute meeting, 60-minute meeting. Treat it like a filtering funnel. Like put a 15-minute buyer introduction, 15-minute seller introduction.
Oh, that's an awesome
appointment about selling your home. Book an appointment of buying a home. Book a minute to talk about an offer on your property. Like put different tools there that lets them self-select who they are. Like when I switched to sales call as the top, because like a lot, like I'm sure if you're in the market, like you're in the marketing world, they always say like, oh, don't call it a sales call, call it a consult, call it a strategic, whatever. I started with that. I switched to just called it a straight up sales call and made that the number one option. My average close rate went from 20% to 45% on those calls. And
I think that's a super insightful tip. So to cover, guys, the 3 tips about what 3 secrets of running ads on Facebook, I think. And there's probably more than 3. So I'm going to say my 3, and I think Andrew can say his 3 at the end of this call, and then we can kind of go from there. I think my 3 are the right creative, the right targeting, and the right call to action. So I think these are my 3 top things about an ad, regardless of if you're running a reach campaign, if you're running a lead campaign, whatever it is. I think that's it for me. What about you, Andrew?
If you want leads, lead generation ads on Facebook are the most effective. Always answer the question, what's in it for me? And look at the ad objectively. Like if you look at that ad and be like, I would not opt in if I saw this on my feed, then don't run that ad. Like you have to look at, like, if you can't quickly answer why would someone care about this, and saying if you want to buy, sell, or invest, call me, they don't care about that. There's a million agents that they can go to. There's like in North America, 1.5 million agents. There's someone else they can go. So like even like what's my home worth? Do they care? No, they want to know what it would sell for. So don't say what's my home worth, say what would your home sell for, right? Like what's in it for me? And then look at, when you're targeting, think about retargeting to improve quality. Like you guys provide a lot of videos, use those to build a retargeting audience so that your ads are warmer when you're targeting to them. Because you can say like, you watched this video, now see this. Like you can drip ads based on the content they're engaging with. Like they watch this video, show them this ad. They watch the video in that ad, show them this one. Strategically playing them out, and those ones are really cheap to do too, like a couple bucks a day and you're good.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So Angela is asking, can I upload my ads to roomvu? Yes, you can. You can basically go there and you can upload your own ad creatives, and we're going to make it more clear. If you need help, talk to our support. I think we've covered a lot of great topics here, and I'm so glad we did this, Andrew. So thank you so much for your time. I hope other realtors also learned as much as I did today. And we look forward to seeing you here again, maybe in a couple of months.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, let's see if we stop.